Welcome, beloved friend. I want you to breathe with me for a moment. Slowly, gently, as if you are allowing your soul to unclench, your heart to soften, and your spirit to finally hear the voice of God whispering in peace. I am so grateful you are here. This space is not by chance, it is a meeting place of hearts. Yours, mine, and the eternal presence of the Anointed One who walks with us in every valley and on every high hill. Before we begin, may I ask you something very small, but very important? If these words bring you even a little peace or stir in you a spark of hope, would you pause and share it with someone you love? Someone who might be carrying heavy burdens right now. And if you feel called, leave a comment. Let your voice be part of this sacred circle. And subscribe so that together we can walk this journey of healing, faith, and divine wisdom. Now let us step into the story. Let us walk with Israel into a land promised but not yet taken, into a city whose walls stood tall, thick, and unshaken by any human strength. Because here lies a truth you and I must not miss. Faith is not simply believing with the mind. Faith is stepping when the ground looks unsteady. Faith is moving when logic says stand still. Faith is trusting the command of God, even when the world calls it foolishness. And at Jericho, the walls did not fall by stone or sword. They fell because faith broke them down. Yes, hear this. Faith breaks walls. Not sometimes, not for the chosen few, but always, when it is rooted in God's promise and surrendered to His timing. And maybe, my dear friend, this is where your heart quietly leans forward and asks, what about my walls? The walls of pain that no prayer seems to touch. The walls of silence when heaven feels so far. The walls of fear that keep me locked inside my own life. Will faith break these too? Stay with me. Because the story of Jericho is not only history, it is a living mirror. It is about you, it is about me, and it is about the Anointed One who still leads us, not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit. Let us begin at the edge of the city. Joshua stands with the people. They have crossed the Jordan, the waters have parted. But before them rises the fortress of Jericho, its gates barred, its soldiers watching, its walls unshaken. And the Lord says to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. But look carefully. The Lord says, I have delivered, not I will deliver. Not I might deliver, but I have. Already done, already spoken, already finished, and yet the walls still stood. Can you feel the tension of that moment? God says, it is yours. And yet before their eyes, the impossible towered high. This is the mystery of faith, believing the victory has already been won even while the walls remain unbroken. And maybe you know that place, where the promise feels spoken yet unfulfilled, where the healing feels near yet the sickness lingers, where the answer feels assured yet silence fills the room. But the Anointed One whispers, my child, do not let your eyes rule your heart. Trust my word over the walls. Trust my voice over the silence. So God gives strange instructions, not the sound of swords, but the sound of silence, not the strength of armies, but the steady circling of faith. March around the city once, with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse and the people will go up. Think of it. 6 days of walking, no weapons drawn, no shouting, no breaking stones. Just walking, just obeying, just trusting. And on the 7th day, 7 circles, a trumpet blast, a shout, and the walls fall flat. Here is where the sacred truth unfolds. Faith is not passive. It walks, it moves, it obeys when it doesn't understand. It circles the impossible again and again until God's moment arrives. Maybe, friend, you have been circling your own Jericho, praying the same prayer, walking the same path, wondering if heaven even notices. But listen, Every step, every circle, every prayer is not wasted. Faith is building, strength is growing, obedience is paving the way for the walls to come down. Sometimes the silence is not absence, it is preparation. It is God teaching you to trust His presence more than His proof. And when His appointed day comes, when His trumpet sounds in your life, the walls will fall not by your might, but by His hand. I will pause here, but the journey is only beginning. Because Jericho is not just about walls falling. It is about the hidden hand of God training His people to live by faith and not by sight. And in the next breath of this story, we will go deeper. We will uncover why God chose such a strange way to bring victory, and how the Anointed One is still circling the walls of your life, whispering for you to hold on, to walk in obedience, and to trust that what He has promised is already done. Stay with me, beloved one, because what comes next may be the very key to the walls you have carried for so long. The city of Jericho was tightly shut. No one went out. No one came in. Its walls were thick with fear, not just stone. And isn't that the way with the walls we carry in our own lives? They are built from fear, from shame, from the silent cement of our wounds. No one goes out, no one comes in. We smile at the world, but within a fortress hides our pain. Yet God was not afraid of Jericho. He was not confused by its gates or intimidated by its towers. He simply said, "I have delivered it into your hands. This is the peace of the Lord. The battle is already His. The outcome is already written. Your walls are not too high. Your chains are not too heavy. Your grief is not too deep. The Anointed One has already spoken of victory over what looks unshakable. But here is the tender mystery. He does not always tear the walls down at once. Sometimes He teaches you to walk in circles around them day after day, prayer after prayer, until faith itself becomes your weapon. Do you feel the strangeness of that? God could have sent fire from heaven. He could have split the ground beneath Jericho. He could have crumbled the stones in an instant. But He chose the slow walk of faith. He chose obedience that looked foolish. He chose the rhythm of silence, trumpet and waiting, because it is in the waiting, not the suddenness, that faith is formed. And maybe, friend, this is where your heart is now. Waiting, walking, praying, feeling the circle repeat. Day after day, the walls still standing. But here is what you must hold to. Every step of obedience is a seed planted. Every prayer lifted in trust is a stone loosened. Every circle you walk around your Jericho is another step toward God's perfect timing. Do not despise the circles. They are holy ground. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant with them. The Ark, the sign of God's presence, His mercy seat, His covenant of love. With every step, the people were reminded, we do not walk alone. God is with us. God goes before us. God surrounds us, and the same is true for you. You are not circling your walls in loneliness. The Anointed One, Christ Himself, is walking with you, carrying the fullness of God's promise and presence. The silence may ache. The waiting may stretch your soul, but you are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. Now think of the seventh day. After 6 days of the same quiet march, the same unchanging walls, God calls them to walk 7 times more. 7, God's number of completion, of fullness, of promise fulfilled. On that day, obedience met completion, and the walls came down. With a shout of faith, here lies the heart of the story. Faith is not only believing in God's power, it is staying with Him until the 7th day. It is trusting when the march feels endless. It is circling one more time, even when your feet are weary. It is believing that completion is coming, even when the wall looks the same. So let me whisper this to you. Do not give up on the 6th day. Do not stop circling before your 7th. Your obedience may feel small. Your prayers may feel unanswered. But the day of completion is nearer than you know. The trumpet will sound, the shout will rise, and the walls will fall. And when they do, it will not be your strength that won the victory. It will be the hand of God, faithful and sure. But let us linger here because there is a deeper tenderness still. The fall of Jericho was not only about walls collapsing, it was about God shaping his people into a nation of trust. A people who no longer lived by sight but by faith. A people who understood that victory comes not from weapons, but from the presence of the Lord. And you, yes, you, are being shaped in the same way. Your Jericho is not only about the wall in front of you, it is about the faith within you. God is forming you even in the silence. He is teaching you to trust his presence, to lean on his word, to walk in his rhythm. The Anointed One, Jesus Christ, would one day echo this truth in his own life. For when he stood before the cross, he too faced what looked like an unshakable wall, the wall of death, the fortress of sin. But he trusted the Father's promise. He walked the path laid before him. And on the third day, the stone rolled away and death's walls fell flat. Your Jericho, your wall, is not stronger than the resurrection power of Christ. What he has overcome, you will overcome in him. Now, my friend, let me ask you a quiet question. What is your Jericho? What wall? Do you keep circling in prayer? What silence tests your faith? What promise feels delayed? Bring it into the light. Do not hide it, the Lord already sees it. Lay it before him now, close your eyes if you can, and whisper it to him. Lord, this is my wall, this is my Jericho, and I trust you with it. Feel the weight shift, feel the burden lift just a little. This is what happens when we bring our walls to the feet of the Anointed One, because you are not walking alone. Every circle he is beside you, every prayer he hears, every tear he keeps. And one day, your seventh day, he will bring the walls down, but hear this as well. When the walls of Jericho fell, the people did not just stand in awe. They stepped forward. They walked into the city. They took possession of the promise. So when your walls fall, do not be afraid to step forward. Do not cling to the ruins. Do not fear the new land God has opened for you. Walk into it with courage. Walk into it with thanksgiving. Walk into it with the Anointed One leading the way. For every wall that falls is not an ending. It is a beginning. The beginning of a new season, a new inheritance, a new intimacy with God. And so, beloved friend, I bless you with this truth. Your walls are not forever. Your Jericho is not eternal. The Lord has already spoken victory. He has already delivered what looks impossible. And he is shaping you even now to walk in the fullness of that promise. Rest in his presence. Circle with faith. Trust his timing. And when the day comes, lift your voice with a holy shout, for the walls will fall, and you will step into the promise of the living God. The walls have fallen. The dust of Jericho still hangs in the air. The shouts of victory echo through the streets. And yet, the story does not end here, because the collapse of walls is never the final chapter. It is always the opening of a new one. For the people of Israel, Jericho was only the first city, the first battle, the first taste of God's faithfulness in a land that was to become their inheritance. And for you, beloved, when God brings down your walls, it is not simply to leave you standing in the rubble. It is to lead you into a new life, a new calling, a deeper intimacy with him. But here is what we must understand. Walls fall suddenly, but the shaping of the heart continues quietly. Victory may arrive in a moment, but the journey of faith is lifelong. So let us not only look at the falling walls, but also at the God who led his people there, step by step, teaching them to walk by trust and not by fear. Let us pause and ask, why did God choose such a strange path? Why the circling? Why the silence? Why the trumpet and the shout? Because faith is not magic. Faith is relationship. And God is not a distant power who moves at the snap of a finger. He is a father, a shepherd, a redeemer, who shapes his children into vessels of trust. The people of Israel had wandered 40 years in the wilderness because they once doubted. They saw the giants in the land and feared. They heard the promise of God but chose the voice of fear. And so they wandered, circling deserts instead of cities. But now, standing at Jericho, God was giving them a new chance, a chance to live differently, to walk by faith, not by sight. to circle not in fear but in obedience. And maybe this is where you find yourself. God has allowed you to circle your walls not as punishment, but as preparation. He is undoing the voice of fear. He is teaching you to listen to His word over the noise of doubt. He is shaping your heart so that when the walls fall, you will be ready to walk in the promise without turning back. Think of it this way: if the walls fell too soon, the people might not have been ready to enter. If the walls crumbled on the first day, they may not have learned trust. If victory came instantly, they would not have known the strength of walking with God daily. The circles were necessary. The waiting was holy. The silence was sacred. So too is your silence. So too is your waiting. So too is the circling you are doing around your Jericho. Do not despise the process. Do not curse the time it takes. For every step, every prayer, every moment of faith is preparing you for the day when the walls will fall. And when they do, you will not only see victory, you will see that your heart has been made strong in Him. Now let us look closer at the moment itself. The priests blew the trumpets, the people shouted, and the walls collapsed. But have you ever wondered why God asked for a shout? Why not just silence until the end? Why not a simple command and then the walls fall? Because the shout is not noise. The shout is agreement. It is the sound of faith rising from the heart and declaring with the mouth, God is faithful. God is true. God has done it. The shout is the overflow of trust. It is not the sound that broke the walls, but the faith behind it, and God allowed His people to partner with Him in that final act of victory. This is the way of the Lord. He invites us to walk with Him, to partner in obedience, to join our voices with His promise, so that when the walls fall, our hearts know we did not stand on the sidelines. We walked with Him. We trusted Him. We shouted in faith, and His hand delivered us. Beloved, your shout may not be loud. It may not be heard by the world. But it can be the whisper of your heart, saying, Yes, Lord, yes, I believe. Yes, I trust you even now. That whisper is as powerful as the trumpet blast when it is spoken in faith. Now, after the walls fell, there was something important. God gave clear instructions. The city was devoted to Him. The silver, the gold, the bronze, the iron, all set apart for the treasury of the Lord. Nothing was to be taken for selfish gain. Why? Because victory belongs to the Lord. Because the first fruits, the first triumph, were to be holy. Because God was teaching His people, this is not about plunder. This is not about greed. This is about my presence, my promise, and my glory. And here we find another truth for our own lives. When your walls fall, remember to give the victory back to God. Do not rush to claim it as your own strength, your own cleverness, your own endurance. Lay it at His feet. Offer Him the first thanks, the first glory, the first fruit of your triumph. For every victory in your life is not only for you. It is a testimony, a witness, a light for others to see that God is faithful. Now let us draw near to something very tender, very personal in this story. Amid the destruction of Jericho, amid the collapsing walls and the falling stones, there was a house that stood untouched. The house of Rahab. Do you remember her? A woman with a past, a woman with a label, a woman the world dismissed. And yet by faith she hid the spies. She believed in the God of Israel. And she tied a scarlet cord in her window as a sign of her trust. When the walls fell, her house stood. When destruction came, her family was saved. Because faith does not only break walls, it also preserves lives. Think of this, beloved one. While Jericho crumbled, Rahab's faith built a refuge, and through her line generations later, the Anointed One Himself would be born. What a mystery of grace. What a tender truth, that in the very moment of judgment, God's mercy shone through faith. So, let me ask you gently, what scarlet cord hangs from your window? What act of trust? What whisper of faith? What simple obedience is marking your life as a house of refuge? Do not underestimate the power of even the smallest thread of faith. For in God's hands, It can preserve generations. It can open a future you could never imagine. It can weave your story into his eternal redemption. Rahab's scarlet cord is also a shadow of the cross, the blood of Christ, crimson and poured out, marking us as his own, covering us in mercy, shielding us from destruction. And when the walls of this world crumble, when judgment comes, those who are marked by the scarlet blood of the Lamb will stand secure, forever in his presence. So we circle back to you, your Jericho, your walls, your waiting, and your scarlet cord. Do you see now? You are not forgotten, you are not alone, you are not powerless. The same God who led Israel, who saved Rahab, who raised Christ from the dead, is walking with you. He is shaping your faith. He is preparing your seventh day. He is weaving mercy into your story, so that when the walls fall, you will see his glory in ways you could never imagine. And so, beloved, hold on. Circle again. Pray again. Trust again. Do not stop on the sixth day. Do not silence your whisper, faith, for the trumpet will sound, the shout will rise, and the walls will fall. And when they do, you will know. It was always him. It was always his presence. It was always his promise. It was always his love. And you will stand not in the rubble but in the promise, not in the ruins but in the inheritance of the living God. So let your heart rest tonight. Let your spirit breathe for the anointed. One says, "When faith breaks the walls of Jericho, my child, I am with you, I am for you, and I will never leave you."